After getting hit by a truck and dying, a jobless and hopeless Japanese man woke up in a completely different world. Suddenly, he wasn't an adult anymore. He had reincarnated as Rudeus Greyrat, newborn son of Paul, a skilled swordsman, and Zenith, a kind healer. Even though he was trapped in a baby's body, he still remembered everything from his former life. Eventually, once he got used to his new surroundings, he began learning how to read. Soon enough, he picked up basic magic as well, treating spellbooks like casual bedtime stories. Because he progressed so quickly, Paul and Zenith decided to hire a real magic tutor. Therefore, Roxy Magurdia, an adventurer and certified mage, arrived at their home. At first, she doubted the idea of training someone so young. However, the moment she witnessed Rudeus casting magic instantly without chanting, she realized he was on a different level. His talent surprised her completely. Later, the Greyrat family organized a small welcome dinner to celebrate Roxy becoming his mentor. During that moment, Rudeus made a quiet promise to himself. From then on, he decided he would work as hard as he could to improve his skills. After all, he believed this second chance at life was something he needed to respect, not waste. He was determined to grow, to change, and to finally live a life he could be proud of. Rudeus often remembered his past life. Back then, things were rough. He had been kicked out of his house, and later, he was hit by the truck that killed him while trying to save a group of teenagers.
Don't be such a child! You're rough!
Watch out!
Because of that, he carried a lot of emotional baggage into his new life. Meanwhile, in this new world, months passed as he trained in magic with Roxy. Day after day, they practiced spells, and Rudeus kept improving fast. Eventually, when his 5th birthday arrived, Roxy told him she had nothing left to teach, so she decided it was time for his graduation exam. The next morning, Rudeus left home for the first time, traveling with Roxy. Along the way, his past trauma started weighing on him. He remembered how badly his classmates bullied him in school and how it pushed him into staying locked inside for years. Because of that, crowds and new places made him panic. However, once they reached the nearby village, he noticed something surprising. Roxy, who usually faced judgment because of her foreign appearance, blended in and talked to people without hesitation. Seeing that, Rudeus slowly pushed through his fear and stopped letting his past control him. During the exam, he focused all his strength and summoned a massive thunderstorm, far bigger than Roxy expected.
Insignificant servant. Come on, rain! Sweep all else away!
Beach. Making this our last day together.
Come on, rain!
Right then, she proudly announced that he had passed. Afterward, Roxy packed her things and got ready to continue her journey. Rudeus walked up to her and thanked her sincerely for everything she had done for him. In that moment, he realized she wasn't just a teacher. She was the person who helped him take his first real step forward in life. After Roxy helped him overcome his fear of leaving home, Rudeus finally felt confident enough to play outside. One afternoon, while wandering near the fields, he saw a group of kids bullying a small half-elf child. Without thinking, he stepped in and chased the bullies away. The child introduced themselves as Sylph, quiet and shy. Over time, Sylph started spending more days with Rudeus. They practiced magic together, and little by little, they became close friends. Rudeus enjoyed teaching her, and Sylph enjoyed having someone who treated her kindly. 6 months later, a heavy storm hit. Sylph got soaked from the rain, so Rudeus brought her to his house to warm up. In an attempt to help, he tried to get her dry clothes, but while doing so, he accidentally discovered something surprising. Sylph was not a boy. Her full name was Sylphiette. Rudeus immediately apologized, but after that day, Sylphiette started avoiding him. She stopped visiting, and Rudeus felt terrible, realizing he had made his first real friend upset. Eventually, after some time passed, Sylphiette gathered the courage to talk to him again. They both apologized, and the tension between them disappeared. Rudeus felt relieved. From then on, he made a promise to himself. He would protect Sylphiette and treasure their friendship, because she was the first true friend he had made in his new life. The Greyrat house felt full of excitement when Zenith announced she was pregnant again. Paul acted proud, and Rudeus thought things were finally peaceful. However, that happiness did not last long. One day, their maid Lilia quietly revealed that she was also pregnant, and the father was Paul. The room went silent. Zenith looked ready to explode. Rudeus quickly understood the situation. Paul had messed up badly. Even though Rudeus realized Lilia was the one who seduced Paul, he also knew that if Zenith stayed angry, things could get ugly. So, he came up with a plan. He convinced his mother to forgive Lilia by pushing all the blame onto Paul and making him take responsibility. Because of that, Lilia was saved from Zenith's anger, and she became deeply grateful to Rudeus. From then on, she treated him with loyalty and respect. Months later, both babies were born. Zenith gave birth to a girl named Norn, and Lilia gave birth to Aisha. Rudeus suddenly became the older brother of two baby sisters. Around that time, Rudeus received a letter from Roxy. She encouraged him to study at the Renoa Magic Academy. After reading the letter, Rudeus got excited and started thinking about leaving the village to attend the academy. However, Sylphiette became sad when she heard about it. She did not want to be separated from him. Because of that, Rudeus changed his plan. He decided to stay for now and find a job so he could earn money for both their tuition. Unfortunately, Paul and Zenith believed that Rudeus was getting too attached to Sylphiette. They worried that the attachment was stopping his growth. So, without warning, they made a decision. They entrusted Rudeus to an old family friend, the strong and intimidating beast woman Ghislaine. Before he could fully process it, Ghislaine picked him up and left the village with him, sending him on a new chapter of his life, far away from Sylphiette.
I wish I were a bird.
As Ghislaine carried Rudeus away, he opened a letter from Paul. In it, Paul explained he had found a tutoring job for Rudeus to pay for his and Sylphiette's studies. However, Paul made one rule clear. Because he thought Rudeus's attachment to Sylphiette was holding him back, he could not return home or see her for the next 5 years. Rudeus felt a mix of relief and frustration, knowing he had a chance to grow, but missing his friend already. When they arrived in the city of Roa, Rudeus met his new employer, Philip Boreas Greyrot, his father's cousin and the city's mayor. Rudeus was tasked to teach Philip's daughter, Eris. But the first meeting did not go well. Eris acted cold and hostile, refusing to listen. Seeing no other choice, Rudeus came up with a risky plan. He would stage a kidnapping with Philip's consent to earn her trust. At first, the plan seemed to work. Rudeus and Eris were captured, and he used his skills to escape with her. Then, he discovered the kidnapping was real, and one of Philip's servants was working with the bandits. Rudeus fought bravely to protect Eris until Ghislaine arrived, taking down the bandits and arresting the traitor. After that, Eris finally accepted him as her tutor, and Rudeus began his new life in her house. After the kidnapping incident, Philip thanked Rudeus for protecting Eris, and warned him not to mention his connection to the Greyrot family, or they might target him again. From that point on, Ghislaine trained both Eris and Rudeus in swordsmanship, while Rudeus taught them magic, reading, and math. Still, Eris often skipped classes out of boredom, so Rudeus decided to give her 1 day off per week to keep her motivated. One afternoon, while walking in the city, Eris tried to buy Rudeus an expensive book. He refused politely, saying she couldn't give gifts without her own money, and suggested asking her father for an allowance. Soon after, with her new allowance, Eris gave Rudeus a small vial he had been curious about. Instantly, Rudeus panicked. He feared revealing to both Eris and Ghislaine that the vial was actually an aphrodisiac, and he scrambled to figure out how to handle the situation without causing trouble. As Eris' 10th birthday party drew closer, Rudeus adjusted his schedule. He allowed her dance teacher some extra time to work with her, while he used the spare hours to study foreign languages. Despite the lessons, Eris barely improved and started thinking about giving up. Seeing this, Rudeus encouraged her to keep trying, and even joined her in practice, showing her how to use some of her fighting moves in her steps. Meanwhile, Rudeus steadily improved his language skills with help from Ghislaine and Roxy. Finally, the day of the party arrived. Eris struggled to dance with another noble, almost giving up in front of everyone. At that moment, Rudeus stepped in, guiding her and dancing with her successfully. The combination of grace and fighting moves impressed the guests, and Eris beamed with pride. After the party, Rudeus met Eris's grandfather, Sauros. When Sauros noticed a strange ball of light in the sky, he worried it could be a bad omen, leaving both him and Rudeus uneasy. 2 years later, Eris and her family held a birthday party for Rudeus. At first, he felt a little down that his own family couldn't come because monster attacks had increased across the country. However, the party lifted his spirits. He was given a top-quality magic staff, and Philip openly expressed his wish for Rudeus to marry Eris and become his successor. Rudeus immediately refused, leaving Philip surprised. Later that night, Rudeus was shocked to see Eris waiting outside his room. He made a careless mistake, trying to act on feelings he shouldn't, but she pushed him away. Realizing his error, he quickly apologized, and Eris forgave him. A few days later, a huge cloud of mana appeared in the sky. The legendary hero Perugius Dola sent his aide, Almanfi, to investigate. Suspicious, Almanfi attacked Rudeus while he practiced with Eris and Ghislaine, but Ghislaine defended him. Then, a massive burst of light confirmed Rudeus's innocence, leaving everyone stunned. Looking like his past self, Rudeus had a brief encounter with a mysterious being known as the Human God. During this meeting, the Human God instructed him to rely on and help the man who had saved him. Afterward, Rudeus woke up in his current body, only to realize that he and Eris were stranded in the middle of the demon continent. Fortunately, they were rescued by Ruijerd Superdia, a member of the feared Supered race, who quickly became their friend and promised to guide them back home. Soon, Ruijerd brought them to a nearby village, coincidentally Roxy's birthplace, where they met her parents. While staying there, Rudeus learned about Ruijerd's tribe. He discovered that their cursed spears, given by the demon god Laplace, had turned many Supered into mindless killers. However, Ruijerd had regained his senses after killing a man who held his son's spear. Inspired by Ruijerd's resolve to clear his people's name, Rudeus decided to help. Then, the trio set out from the village to continue their journey home. Rudeus, Eris, and Ruijerd arrived at the city of Rikarisu. To avoid trouble, Rudeus dyed Ruijerd's hair and had him pretend to be from the Magurdia tribe. The three jokingly named their group Dead End, after Ruijerd's nickname. Everyone laughed, and their disguise worked perfectly. However, because they were still novices, they couldn't take on the more challenging quests. Nokopara, a fellow adventurer, didn't miss the chance to mock them. That night, a young demon walked into the inn with friends and tried to befriend them, but a misunderstanding led Eris to hit him. Rudeus healed them, and they introduced themselves as Bachiru, Gablin, and Kurt, the Tokurabu village gang. Later, Rudeus worried about expenses since they couldn't accept higher-paying quests. In a dream, the human god advised him to take the Lost Kitten quest. The next morning, they accepted it, which led to a group of adventurers who kidnapped pets for bounty. After defeating them, Rudeus tried to question a kidnapper but got hit. Ruijerd killed him instantly, and Rudeus scolded him, forbidding unnecessary killings. Using the kidnapper's higher rank, they gained access to better jobs and slowly improved their party's reputation, though Nokopara still mocked them whenever she could. After the mana surge in Fatoa, Roxy started searching for news about Rudeus and his family. She discovered that, aside from Paul and Norn, everyone else had gone missing. During her search, she met Elena Lise, Dragonroad, and Talhand. Paul had left a message telling Rudeus to stay contactable through the Buena Villager search team and the Fitoa region search group. Meanwhile, Rudeus's party was on a quest, hunting a mysterious monster in the forest. They ran into two other teams also searching for it. The boar-like leader of one team claimed, "First come, first served," and refused to welcome competition. The Tokurabu village toughs followed close behind. Ruijerd worried about the young demon adventurers. One party was ambushed by a huge spider and an almond anaconda. Rudeus waited to intervene, but one adventurer died, causing tension with Ruijerd, though Kurt calmed them down. When they finally faced the main monster, Rudeus stepped in early and defeated it with his team. Back in Rikarisu, another adventurer tried to blackmail him. Ruijerd revealed himself as a Supered to protect Rudeus, scaring Kurt and Bachiru. After leaving the city, Rudeus and Ruijerd reconciled. The next morning, Ruijerd had a shaved head, and Rudeus gave him a headband, while the others got matching accessories. They started their first strategy meeting, plotting for the Asura kingdom, and continued traveling with Eris toward a coastal city, unaware Roxy was arriving on the continent with two of Paul's former companions. Roxy's crew landed in the city, while Rudeus and Eris realized that Ruijerd's Supered status made the boat fare way too high. As they scrambled for a plan, Human God pinged Rudeus again, telling him to buy food at a certain spot. There, he stumbled on a hungry peddler and shared his meal. Surprise hit him when she revealed herself as the demon emperor Kishirika Kishirisu and gifted him a new power, seeing a few seconds into the future. Testing it out, Rudeus saved a man from getting hurt. Later, he thought about selling his staff to pay for Ruijerd's ticket, but Ruijerd stopped him. Just then, Gallus Cleaner, the guy Rudeus had saved, appeared, making things more interesting. Roxy chased dead-end rumors and arrived at Windport with Elena Lise and Talhand. Meanwhile, Rudeus's team cut a deal with Gallus's smuggling crew to cross to Milis, freeing some unlucky slaves along the way. Later, Rudeus got jailed for something he didn't do. While scheming an escape, Geese, a cheating gambler, landed in his cell, and suddenly, smugglers attacked the village. Chaos everywhere. The trio reached Doldia, Ghislaine's hometown. Eris lit up, but her brother Guys threw shade, calling her a disgrace. They clashed, making things tense. Despite the drama, Eris got tasked with teaching sword skills to Gaius's daughter, Minotona, while Rudeus tried to keep up with the wild scene. Even though he reunited with his father, Paul, Rudeus felt a heavy heart. Zenith, Lilia, Aisha, and Sylphie were missing after the transference incident, and his strained relationship with Paul didn't help. Meanwhile, Paul was scolded by Geese and realized he had spoken harshly to Rudeus. Determined, he tried to reach out again. Finally, Rudeus mustered the courage and confronted his father, ready to clear the air and face the unresolved tension. Rudeus, Eris, and Ruijerd left Milishan and set sail toward the central continent, thanks to Paul and Therese Latreia. Meanwhile, Roxy arrived in Rikarisu with Nokapara and heard that a former teammate, Blaze, had died. At the mention of Dead End and the dreaded Supered member, she nearly panicked. After visiting her parents, she fainted learning that Ruijerd was a Supered. Later, realizing Dead End was actually Rudeus's party, she returned to her lodgings, walked in on Ellen Elise, and accidentally exploded the room with icicle break. Determined, Roxy, Ellen Elise, and Talhand set off to search for the missing Greyrat family. Rudeus spoke with the human god, asking about the whereabouts of Zenith, Lilia, Aisha, and the others. The human god instructed him to trust the advice if it proved useful, showing him a scene of Aisha, while warning him not to reveal his real name. He also suggested writing a letter to someone in the Shironi Kingdom Palace to rescue Lilia and Aisha. Back in the real world, Rudeus felt seasick on the ship as Dead End crossed to the central continent. Along the river, Eris offered him an onigiri, excited about the new food, but Rudeus stayed distracted. Arriving at the Shirone capital, Eris buzzed with excitement, learning Rudeus had a second sister she hadn't met before. Rudeus wrote a letter to Roxy, leaving it with an inn employee, while a young girl gripped it tightly. Later, sensing someone following him, Rudeus led the girl into an alley. Two armed palace guards confronted her, claiming she stole a letter. Quickly, Rudeus sank them into a quagmire and escaped with the girl, realizing she was his 6-year-old sister, Aisha. He introduced himself as Shadow Moon Knight and helped her plan a message to their father. Though irritated by her comments about an unreliable brother, he pledged to rescue their mother. Morning came, and Ginger York from the guards of the 7th Prince arrived, calling Rudeus to the palace, supposedly at Roxy's request. While waiting in his cell, Rudeus was surprised when Shironi's 3rd prince, Zenoba, showed up. The prince gushed about Rudeus's lifelike sculptures of Roxy and Ruijerd and begged to be his apprentice. Rudeus explained that only Pax could lift the seal, but Zenoba promised to fix it. Meanwhile, Pax's guards secretly smuggled Ruijerd, Eris, and Aisha into the palace, trading help for the safe release of their families. Zenoba confronted Pax, and Aisha revealed Zenoba was actually a blessed child, the so-called decapitator prince with superhuman strength. Zenoba forced Pax to free Rudeus, and Pax's guards refused to interfere when they learned their families were safe. Afterwards, Lilia and Aisha were sent home. Lilia returned Roxy's panties and gave Rudeus a necklace Sylphiette had made for his 10th birthday. Rudeus gave his forehead protector to Aisha. She apologized for calling him a pervert, admitting she knew his real identity all along. Pax and Zenoba were exiled under the guise of studying abroad, quietly leaving the kingdom. Dead End traveled through Red Dragon Mountain toward Fitoa. One night, after a spar, Ruijerd finally acknowledged Eris as a warrior. She asked Rudeus to pinch her to make sure she wasn't dreaming. Rudeus teased her, and although he pinched her, she sent him flying anyway. Excited, she almost bounced off the ground, but Ruijerd warned her not to get cocky. The next day, they approached the Lower Jaw Valley to avoid a herd of red dragons. Eris suggested fighting them instead, but Rudeus and Ruijerd rejected the idea, warning that even lower-ranked 7 great powers would struggle. Suddenly, a mist revealed a tall man in white with a masked girl. Ruijerd froze, warning the team not to move. The man asked about Ruijerd and Eris, but didn't recognize Rudeus. Curious, Rudeus introduced himself, and the man said his name was Orstead. Their conversation quickly turned tense, and when Rudeus mentioned the human god, Orstead attacked. Rudeus watched in terror as Orstead overpowered Ruijerd and Eris. Cornered and injured, Rudeus fired a stone cannon to injure Orstead, but Orstead shrugged it off, demonstrating his terrifying power. Orstead crushed Rudeus's abdomen and warned him to inform the human god before leaving. In the chaos, Eris tried to help but was thrown back. Rudeus lost consciousness, then awoke in a void dimension with a hole in his chest. The human god explained Orstead's curse, his hatred, and why Rudeus's reincarnation made him immune. Rudeus realized he still had a chance to help Ruijerd rebuild his reputation. When he woke, Eris cradled him. She punched him softly, crying, relieved he was alive. Rudeus dreamed of everyone he knew at a happy gathering, but it turned into a nightmare where he was stabbed in his old form. He woke beside Eris, shaken. Ruijerd asked about the human god and Orstead, and Rudeus explained the truth. The human god was helping them, and Ruijerd's supered curse was slowly fading. The next day, Rudeus practiced disturb magic while traveling, preparing for another encounter with Orstead. Eris seemed dejected hearing this. They reached the ruins of Rudeus's hometown, where memories of his early life hit him hard. Ruijerd decided they were strong enough to continue alone and bid them farewell, thanking Rudeus for helping him grow. In Roa, now also in ruins, Eris reunited with Ghislaine and Alphonse, who revealed that her parents were killed during the teleportation incident and her grandmother grandfather executed. Another branch of the Greyrat family tried to force her into marriage, but Eris refused angrily. Rudius noted his mother was still missing, but confirmed Sylphiette was alive somewhere. That night, Eris told him she had turned 15 and initiated intimacy. The next morning, she had left with Ghislaine without explanation, leaving Rudius distraught and confused. Rudeus sank into a deep slump, haunted by memories of his old life. Flashbacks hit him hard: school bullying, cruel classmates, and the long months he'd spent shutting himself away. Every corner of his mind reminded him why he had feared the world. Meanwhile, Eris had left with Ghislaine, determined to grow stronger so she could fight Orstead and protect Rudeus. Rudyard kept moving, rescuing travelers from monsters along the way. Despite revealing he was a superd, the travelers praised him for his bravery, and Rudyard felt a rare sense of satisfaction. Zenoba and Geese continued their own journeys, thinking fondly of Rudeus and smiling at memories of their time together. In Doldia village, Gaius and Tona kept training, sparring and joking like normal kids. Roxy, on the other hand, ran into Kishirika and helped cover her massive bar tab. In thanks, Kishirika used her demon eyes to track Rudeus's family. Aisha and Lilia had safely reunited with Paul and Norn, while Zenith was trapped in Labyrinth City on Begarit continent. Roxy quickly prepared to head there for a rescue mission. Meanwhile, Rudeus, still battling his depression, dreamed of Zenith. The dream reminded him of his duty, and he pushed past his insecurities, ready to continue his journey. Elsewhere, Sylphiette, now with white hair, tried convincing a mysterious group to recruit Rudeus for their ranks.